and it's 11 a.m. and we're here to review and approve or disapprove the World Fuel contract. The World Fuel is a fuel supplier. We are currently with
Phillips 66.
Phillips 66, City Valcon. I will kind of, turn this over to Randy to kind of explain to us what World Fuel has offered us and
Okay,
one of the.
I suppose you know why we're here. What happened to us with Phillips 66? Do you want me to talk about that at all?
Just review it for the public, since the public will watch the video.
Okay. Well, we have been under contract and still are with Phillips 66 City Services Valcon out of Kalispell, Montana. And last year we had ordered our regular fuel supply system, and fuel has, according to Phillips 66, will deteriorate in a period of time. And so you have to refresh that fuel. And in that process, if you have a 6,000 gallon tank and you get it down to 2,500 gallons, they can put another 3,000 gallons in there, and that will be enough to refresh it so that it's a current and viable fuel without adding different kinds of additives. That same thing works with ethanol-based fuels, and jet fuel is not exactly the same. That's a kerosene. It's a diesel-based fuel with a lot of oil additives. In the process of doing this, we were having to refresh our fuel about once a year. And so we were prepared, hoping that the fuel supply would get down in the tank so that when we could refuel again, it would be enough to refresh it so we didn't have to dispose of any fuel. As it turns out, they called me and said, well, Phillips 66 has changed their thought process on this. Now it's going to be 6 months. So I said, okay, when is this going to be taking place? And they said, well, you're going to have to dispose of your fuel now. I said, how can we dispose of it now? I said, we were told it was good for a year. And I said, we're a small county. Sometimes we don't get a lot of people in here. Sometimes we get a lot. And he said, well, that's their policy and they've changed and we're just going to have to hold you to it. And I said, all right. And he said, here's what you can do. You can call this person. He gave us their name. They can come out there and pull the fuel out of it. And then you'll have to pay to have it sent to a repository to dump it. Wasted fuel. And I said, we don't have the option? And he said, no, I'm sorry that you don't have the option. So I said, okay, thank you. And I called around and I found someone in the Coeur d'Alene area that was willing to buy all the fuel that we had in our tank at a very reduced rate, but it was just about what we paid for it, so we weren't going to lose any money. And so I had him come over and he pumped all the remainder out of there, and then we reordered our stock from them. And I called him on the telephone to reorder, and I said, we are a small county. $24,000 is a lot of money to us. It might not be anything to you, but it's important to our county. And I said, this will never happen again. And I said, I'm sorry to tell you that, but I'm going to be looking for other suppliers. We can't afford to have this happen to us. Mm-hmm. So that's what started all this process, and I hung up with him, and I went inside, and I started calling around, and I called through a guy in Portland, I called a guy in Seattle, I called a guy in Spokane, and I called one in Salt Lake City, Utah. And the gentleman over in Spokane said, hey, have you heard about so-and-so down at Connell? And I said, Connell where? He said, Connell, Washington. I said, you mean between Ritzville and Pasco, where the state prison is? And he said, yep, there's a guy down there that sells fuel. So I called him, and yeah, he sells fuel. And his rates were slightly less than Phillips 66, but all the others were equal to, some of them more than Phillips 66 in their price to us. So I called Jeff, and I told him what I had done and the process. And I said, I'll get together all the information, I'll compile it and send it to you guys so that you can look at what our options are going to be. And about that time, I got a telephone call from somebody over in the Seattle area, and he introduced himself as Mark? And I said, we get a lot of people want to stop out there, buy fuel, stay overnight, and tie down. So I thought that's what he was going to do. And he said, I understand that you're trying to change fuel suppliers. And I said, well, I am. How did you find out about that? And he said, it's a small world. And I said, well, yeah, it is, but how did you find out about it? He says, we'll get to that in a minute. So he introduced himself as being from World Fuel, and I said, I've never heard of that. And he said, well, quite frankly, we're the world's largest supplier of fuel, at least in the United States. And he said, we supply all the government fuel for America, all of it. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, all of the government buildings, everything is supplied through us. And I said, why do I not know this? And he said, well, that's a good thing. We don't advertise it. We don't let it be known that this is what takes place. And I said, okay, what can you offer? So he told me up front, he said, and he knew about our contract with Phillips. How he finds out, I don't know. But anyway, he said, this is, and I pulled up the price that I had for the last fuel service that we got from City Services Valcon, and told him how much it was, and he said, I can beat that by 50 cents a gallon. And I said, say that again? He said, I can cut that price by 50 cents a gallon. I said, we need to talk. And I need to get my commissioners involved in this, because everything's done by committee here in this county. And so I called Jeff again, and I said, told him, and I said, this guy is down in Salt Lake City. He called me on his phone from Salt Lake City, and he's going to be coming here the next day or so. I said, would you be able to come out here and just meet with this guy as he's coming through, which he did. And that's kind of where we're at now. And then he introduced us. He said, next week, if you don't mind, I have another lady that would like to meet with you at the airport. And I said, sure. He said, is Jeff going to be available to meet with you two from the commissioners? I said, I'll call and see. They're busy with meetings and everything else and stuff going on. But so he said, yeah, I can be out here. So this lady and her husband showed up, and we walked around with them, and they liked us a lot, apparently, because she called this other gentleman that called me from Seattle and said, I like those folks. Let's do business with them and help them as much as we can. So that's where we're at right now. Jeff made a heck of an impression on him, I guess, and that's where we're at. So these folks are all over the United States. They have fuel supplies everywhere.
And they offered to give us $3,000 a year.
They did.
Yeah.
Which I didn't put that in writing in anything, but that's a verbal contract that we had with the guy over there in Seattle. Until it's a signed deal, I'll just...
Seller will provide $3,000 annual to the customer, number 18.
Okay. And that's...
That's to help upgrade our fuel.
Anything that we want to use it for out there at the airport. It's to help everything. We can, if I want to get some more fuel oil, for people to change oil and stuff like that, we'll set up a cabinet and do that sort of stuff out there. So anyway, the contracts are pretty much self-explanatory, but the gentleman in Seattle, I call him Mark, which is his name, said that the lady that was out there with her husband to see you lives in Coeur d'Alene, she and her husband, and she's a vice president of this corporation. And I said, really? And he said, yep, and they really like you, and you guys are doing a really good job, and they want to do business with you. And I said, that suits me fine. So that's why we're here. This is an estimate that we got. This was for back in May, and the prices have dropped since then. Jet fuel is $2.85 a gallon delivered to us, but we don't have that. But then 100 LL, that's low lead, 100 octane fuel, is $4.48 a gallon delivered to us. We normally increase that by about $1. So we were year before last, we were charging $6 a gallon for fuel at our pump, and now it's $5.65 a gallon, and so this will drop it another 25 cents a gallon. which means that we're going to be really competitive because Washington is taxed to death. And we are a lot better service available to the people that are flying. They come through here all the time from Seattle area going back east and stuff. They stop out at our place and get fuel. So that was it. This is an estimate from back in May, and that's what it was. City Services Valcon, the last time that this was in August, they delivered fuel out here to us, 3,000 gallons, and they charged us $4.64. Hence, my fuel cost out there is $5.65, so it's $1 a gallon more at whatever rate that we have. I wish we had jet fuel in there, but we don't have that right now. But that's neither here nor there. So these are the prices that we have here, and the contract is before you. It starts December the 1st. I believe that's what it says in there. Up front, it's the same as it was at Phillips 66. It's a 5-year upfront contract. There's a stipulation in there about over that 5-year period, if we sell 575,000 gallons total, we can change the contract period of time. But if we don't, then it reverts to another 5 years until we reach that 575, and then it goes down to a yearly rate, a yearly contract with them, which is exactly what happened with Phillips 66. So that must be an industry standard with them. So,
all right.
Any questions?
We had legal review it, and our legal team reviewed it and sent it back, and they were dealing with the legal team with World Fuel, and so we're good legal wise.
So they did approve the
Yeah.
differences, whatever it was there. Was it on the branding or was it on the fuel supply agreement, or do you know?
It was on the agreement.
On the
On the whole fuel supply.
on the whole thing.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion. I think
Okay.
we should go with World Fuel.
I make a motion that we approve the World Fuel contract for the airport.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, well, we're ready to go. Appreciate you coming.
Wow. Thank you very much.
We're
I don't
adjourned.
know if you're adjourned. So
Yep.